Alright, since a couple people asked, what is anarco-socialism, the thing I identify with? Well, there's a snarky quote which I really like, which is, anarco-socialism is redundant because one is necessary for the other. Anarco-socialism, also known as social anarchism, believes that any hierarchical power structure at all will eventually be used to hurt people. In a sense, all power corrupts. The ideal state of things doesn't have a state, doesn't have capitalism, and instead has power of any sort, whether that's power to buy and own stuff, power to make rules, power to create, spread amongst as many people as possible. And it believes in equity over equality, which is to say you don't necessarily just give everyone the same money and call it a day. You don't need to give the 10-foot tall guy a 10-foot ladder. You give people the resources they need such that they have as equal of an opportunity to do things as the next. What things are those? All of them. When it comes to governing power, when it comes to the power to disperse those resources, that is kept small and local and voluntary and based off of mutual aid. It's kind of like the flip reverse side of libertarianism. Like a libertarian believes that individual liberty is the most important thing, right? Well, an anarcho-socialist says the libertarian isn't going far enough. Like, how do you actually have individual liberty if your neighbor next door has a nuke and you're eating ramen noodles? You don't. Your neighbor next door has way more liberty than you do. And whereas a libertarian says, well, fuck it, that's just how the world is, the anarcho-socialist says, no, that power imbalance is not okay. So you don't get that nuke, and the money that would have been spent on that nuke is going to be spent to make sure that your neighbor no longer eats ramen noodles. And the mutual aid part is important because it means if at any point someone needs aid and you have the ability to give that aid, you give that aid. And similarly, if at any point you need aid, someone gives that aid to you. Now, that being said, anarcho-socialists, or at least people who are serious about it, know that you can't really practice that right now because we're stuck in a capitalist system. And anarcho-socialism, by definition, needs a dismantling of all hierarchical structures. The best thing you can do is try to adhere to the tenets within the currently fucked up system. For example, mutual aid. That's why I do stuff like give away food. That's why I give money to people who need it. That's why, in my weirdo life, I've come into contact with a lot of people, and I will forward those contacts to whoever needs them for whatever reason to hope that they succeed. In a way, anarcho-socialism is vehemently and fiercely anti-individualist. There is no succeeding alone. We either all succeed together, or we've all failed. And we've been doing a lot of failing recently. The thing that turns people off from anarcho-socialism is this vehement anti-individualism. It doesn't really stop at money. Like, it looks at me, and it looks at LeBron James and says, LeBron James is way better at basketball. And things would be great if I could be that good at basketball so that I could play fairly against him. Parentheses, if I wanted to. Or like Daigo Mahara, very good at Street Fighter. It would be really great if I could play against him in Street Fighter. Many people would say that skill, that technical skill that they've cultivated, is what makes them special. And taking that away or evening the playing field is, scary or unfair. But I'm just saying everybody should, in an ideal world, be able to have the experiences that they want to experience. That's why I'm never against things like modern controls, easy controls, accessibility options in video games. Because anarcho-socialists don't actually think that that cheapens the game in any way. The goal is that, subjectively, two people playing the game can have the same good experience. If one of those people needs easy controls and the other one doesn't, then let the person who needs easy controls have easy controls so that they have a closer experience. Again, it's evening out opportunity for everyone. That's also why I really like teaching people fighting games. Because if you have interests, then it falls to me, as someone who already has that skill and knowledge, to help you learn. I'm using fighting games just as an example here because I love them, but really, like I said, that goes for everything, for every skill set, for every resource. Those who can't get aid until they can. Now again, it may very well be impossible to reach that ideal state, but you can, within the bounds of pragmatism, do what you can do to get closer to that ideal state. So aside from mutual aid, I'm also a prison abolitionist. I'm very heavily trans rights, gay rights, queer rights. I'm vehemently opposed to the two-party system. I accept that our current society and system was basically built on racism, and that intersectionality is extremely important when talking about any issue. And I don't believe in great man theory, in science or in anything. In fact, I think that's why I like science so much, because it's such a great proof that we only succeed when we all succeed together. All science, by its nature, has to be collaborative. And the body of knowledge that we build with it is one that everyone can and will use. So it is a very nice place for an anarcho-socialist like me. And that is a quick, not so quick, 6-minute guide to anarcho-socialism. But TLDR, anarcho-socialism is redundant because for one to exist, the other has to exist.